All right, guys, the time has come. I'm finally going to be doing the clutch on my E30. I should have done it a long time ago, but for obvious reasons, I've been putting it off. Namely, because it's a huge job, especially being an IX. So that means I've got two drive shafts to deal with, the front and the rear. But it's so far gone, it's time. I've been running the stock clutch for a while now on 8 pounds of boost, and it's held up all right, but it slips every once in a while. And now that I've turned it up to 14.5, it's gone. So I'm gonna jack this thing up and we're gonna get started. So in addition to the clutch slipping, I'm also having some other issues, mainly a whole bunch of leaks from the transmission and the transfer case. So possibly the rear main too, which I'm going to take a look at once I get the transmission off. But I do have another transfer case that I resealed from my other car that I'm going to be swapping into this one. I'm also going to be replacing some bearings in the transmission because the shift shaft seal was leaking. So I kind of let the transmission go low on oil and it started whining. So luckily I have some spare bearings that I'm gonna throw in there while I'm at it. Should be fun, but I'll make a video of me tearing apart the transmission too, because I noticed there's not a lot of videos online, people tearing apart a Getrag, because it's also not fun. But while I'm under here, I'll show you some things that are unique to an IX. So here's the drive shaft, the rear drive shaft from an IX. It does not have a center support bearing like a rear wheel drive would. It has a, it's like a collapsible yoke, maybe you'd call it. But this little guy right here is reverse threaded. So BMW makes a special tool for it, but I've always just used a big pipe wrench. Seems to do the job just fine. You tighten this, and when you unbolt this, you can collapse it inwards to get this drive shaft out. Otherwise, it's not going to come out if you don't, make it smaller by collapsing it. Here is the transfer case, which is leaking pretty much out of every seal, like they do after a couple 100,000 miles. Maybe someday I'll make a video of me resealing one of these. There's a seal here. There is a seal here. This is the front drive shaft. There's actually 2 seals in there. And there's a seal right in there. And they all leak after a while. And they leak all over this mount, which also acts as your transmission mount. And it gets all swollen up, as you can see here, which is pretty cool. Also, some of this oil that's dripping down right here is coming from the shift shaft seal, and that's why the transmission went dry. And then my bearings started, here you can see it. Bearings started whining. Yeah, I'm going to be replacing those from another one of my transmissions that I took apart for parts. Anyway, I'm going to get going on removing this transmission. it, probably because I've just had these bolts off back when I did the turbo swap last year, so they all still have anti-seize and stuff on them. This is the front drive shaft. It's solid. These splines tend to strip out, but that's why I've done the front flex disc mod. It's from a E30 X5, I believe. Basically, it's just thicker, so it pushes the front drive shaft into the transfer case. Nice. Into the transfer case deeper, you know, so you engage more of the splines. I've never had an issue with them yet on both of my IXs, so, but then again, I've done the mod on both of them, so. And this is the rear shaft that you guys saw earlier. Got this collapsed. See if I can, yeah. It's hard to do with one hand, but you get the picture. Once you have that nut loosened by tightening it, yeah, it unlocks the telescoping feature, I guess is what you want to call it, for the yoke. Here she is. Should probably open that and get a look. All right, my favorite part. Okay, gotta set some stuff down here a sec. Ooh, made in America. Of course, you got the stickers. I'm gonna put that on my cabinet. There she is. Psych. There she is. Nice white pressure plate. Nice. You know, because you're gonna see it. All right, so next I'm going to be unbolting the transmission and the transfer case mount that holds the transmission up. I'm going to be trying to take both out as an assembly, bolted together. You can take the transfer case off without taking the transmission off. It's just harder. You got to use a bunch of extensions and wobble sockets and stuff like that. One of the bolts you have to go through the shift console hole where the shifter goes through. So I think it's just gonna be easier to take them both off as one, but we'll see, because I never really have before. So see what happens. bar that I have, just to keep the engine from tilting too far forward. I don't have the viscous fan on here anymore, so I don't really think it's gonna hit the radiator, but might as well just have it there just in case. Got this ratchet strap tightened up all the way. Like I said, I don't even know if I really need this on here, but we'll see. Well, I got it out. It was a struggle. I didn't get it on camera at the end there, dropping it out, because I kept knocking it over and there was little to no space. But yeah, she's out. If I had to do it again, I probably wouldn't drop it together like this. I'll go ahead and take the transfer case off the transmission, because it makes it hard to get at the shift linkage. I already took it off, but that definitely needs to come off before you can drop it. Otherwise it gets hung up in the shift console, the hole in the floor. But yeah, there it is. Quite a grease ball. Leaking from pretty much every seal. There's the shift shaft seal that's just completely wasted. But yeah, here's my spare transfer case. Dry as a bone, pretty clean. Here's where I touched it up here for the shifter. I'm using the, let me grab it here. Dual shear selector rod, the DSSR. And on the IX, kind of, from what I've found out, it hits right here. So I ground it down just a little bit. But yeah, all this is going in. Like I said, the DSSR, this is a Z3 E36 Z3 1.9 short shifter. So that'll be sweet to have in there. But yeah, finally got it out. Going back in is gonna be rough. So here's the clutch. Looks like it's original. It actually still has a lot of material left, which is hilarious. Probably could put this in another E30 and it'd be fine. Not that I'm gonna, but sucks that it doesn't hold 14.5 pounds of boost.